Hi, good evening everybody. I'm hoping that you can hear me. I've got my windows open, so you might hear some background noise, just because there's some birds and cars and whatever, but it's so hot that I've got to have the windows open, otherwise I can't draw. So I'm hoping you can hear me. Let me know if you can hear me, and let me know how you all are, and yeah, hopefully this is going to be a nice evening, I hope. We're going to be drawing the little Spaniel again. Let me just pull up here. So I'm going to be working on, oh, that's brilliant. I'm going to be working on sort of like this bit here. We've worked on all sorts of areas of the hair. We've done one of the eyes, we've done the nose, and now I'm just going to work on this short hair here. So I'm just going to bring my phone over there a little bit, bring my microphone up there slightly, hoping it's not going to fall off. Excellent. Oh, that's brilliant. Yeah, I'm really well, thank you. I'm really well. I've what have I been doing today? Drawing. So yeah, just drawing my little French bull. Well, it's not my French bulldog, but a French bulldog. So I've been drawing him, which is quite nice. And I'm just picking up some of the pencils that I'm going to be using and just working out what I'm going to be doing for tonight. So right, so who have we got? We've got Lynn, we've got Lauren. Oh, Lauren, that is fantastic news. Well done, congratulations on that. That's brilliant. I hope you're celebrating. We've got Darlene. Hi, Darlene. Lovely to have you here. Lovely. Melinda. Hi, Virginia. Hi, Jill. Hi, Carol. So, yeah, so I'm going to make a start. And I'm going to make a start, actually, weirdly, with the... In fact, I think I put the... where's that other one that I was going to use? The burnt ochre as well. I'm gonna make a start with the Granite Rose, actually, which is a little bit strange, but I just want to put like a very light layer down in the middle of the face here, and it's got a definite pinky glow to it. Now I will keep glancing at the live chat if you've got any questions, but if you've got any burning questions that you definitely need me to ask or whatever, I think Vicky is moderating again, so which is brilliant. Thank you, Vicky. Yeah, so if you've got any burning questions and I don't answer, I'm really sorry, but you can always message me, and hopefully Vicky will pick up on them and she can message me as well. So yeah, I hope wherever you are today, you're all okay. I'm fine. I'm absolutely boiled. I even put on a shirt this morning to keep myself a bit cooler, a linen shirt, and it's white. And I was like, oh, I'm all lovely and summery and everything. And I walked downstairs, put the dogs out, they came in, and now I have literal paw marks all over the bottom of the shirt. So I'm just like, oh, do you know what? I'm not destined to be sort of smart and clean or whatever. I'm destined to be this grubby, paw-ridden woman. Not paw as in paw, but paw as in dog paws. So I'm just kind of putting the Granite Rose down really on the nose area here. And what I'm doing is I'm just sort of doing it quite roughly, and if you've seen some of my tutorials before, you'll see that I'm not particularly careful to begin with, and I'm quite loose and quite rough when I first start a piece. And what I like to do is I like to actually get in quite a lot of the fur detail to begin with as texture. And I find this part of a dog, this bit here, really, really hard, and it's because well, if a dog's facing you and you've got the two eyes looking at you and everything's kind of completely facing you, it's really hard, because you've got to try and get all of the hair, you've got to try and make it look like the nose is long and not sort of short, and it's quite tricky. So I've found that this sort of method, where I sort of put all of the hair strokes in first, you probably can't see it actually, which is probably a bit useless, but you'll be able to see it in a second when I add some more colour. But I tend to find that that's really, really helpful, because I can see that this bit here is quite flat, then it comes round, and this bit here sort of like comes down and onto this sort of muzzly bit here. And I can get a really, really good feel for the form of the nose quite early on. Oh, hi. I'm terrible at names, but Jana, is it Jana from the Netherlands? I'm joining for the first time. The drawing looks really difficult. It's not. It isn't. Well, I guess everything is difficult if you don't know what you're doing and you don't know how to do it. And what I like to do is I like to make everything as easy as possible, because I'm a lazy artist. I like things to be as easy as possible, and so all of the techniques and everything that I share, with everybody, they're all about kind of ease, really. So all I'm doing here is I'm just putting this colour in, which is a colour that I can see through all the rest of the fur. I can see this sort of pinky glow, and I'm just putting one layer in of coloured pencil that kind of replicates the direction of fur that is on the Spaniel's nose, on the bridge of the nose here, and that's all I'm doing at the minute. This little bit here is a bit complicated because it kind of goes all over the place, but that's one of the most important things to do when you're drawing animals, is to follow the direction of the fur growth, and the length of the fur, and the feel of the fur and all of that. So here I've got, not that you can see, but sort of like a very light layer of pink. And do you know what? Probably the reason I'm using pink is because I'm drawing this lovely little French bulldog, and I'll show you him before we finish today. But he's grey, and he's just grey. That's it. There's just grey. There's no colour. It's just grey. And all the way through the tutorial I'm saying, right, let's pick up a grey. Let's pick up another grey. We'll put another grey in. It's just grey. So actually I'm just going to make this as colourful as I can, because I've just been working with grey all day. I'm a bit bored of grey. He's lovely, and he's a really lovely grey, but he is grey. Right, so I'm going to bring in just the little putty eraser here, and I'm just going to just take out these horrible lines here, because they don't really mean very much and they look a bit ugly, so I'm just going to take them out a bit. And I'm now going to start put in, I've probably got some pretty rubbish colours here actually. I think I'm going to go for the walnut brown, and I'm just going to start to add in a little bit of darker fur into here and some of the texture. Very, very lightly, this is quite sharp for me, but we're just going to very lightly start to bring in a little bit of this texture. Now, I don't want to completely cover the layer that I've just put in. I want to sort of show some of that underneath. So the pencil, the layer that I'm putting in has kind of got gaps in it. It's almost like an open weave texture, rather than just sort of colouring in and putting in a flat colour and then putting colour in over the top of that. So for me, if an animal's got texture, it's a pretty good idea to get that texture of the fur in as soon as you can, really, because that's what it's going to look like in the end. You want to see all of that fur texture, and normally your the width of your pencil is the width of the dog's hair. So, as much as we say don't draw every single little hair, that's absolutely true, but while you're putting those first layers on, you're covering the paper. You might as well put the texture in. You don't have to, but you might as well. And that gives you a really nice base then to sort of work in all of the details later on. Now, the other thing that I like to do is I like to work with my pencil going in the same direction as the hair is growing. And it just gives it a more realistic look, I think. You know, so I'm just coming in here with the walnut brown really lightly. Now, pressure is a really big thing. It's a really big thing. And many people, when I say go lightly, go lightly, go light, they don't actually realise just how light my pressure is when I first start. And it's only when, you know, if they're sitting with me, you know, and I bash them over the head and say, no, lighter, lighter, lighter. I don't bash them over the head, but you know what I mean. It's only when you actually show somebody how light your pressure should be at the beginning. Well, I'm saying should be. You can do what you like, but you know that how I teach. You know, the pressure to begin with is really light. You know, and it's quite an eye opener for some people, and they're like, really, that light? And I'm like, yeah, absolutely, that light, but you wouldn't do a whole piece using really light pressure. And I think this is something that it's probably my fault, but, well, not my fault, but when I've been telling people really light pressure, it's almost like you think that you have to do light pressure all the way through the piece, and you don't. The beginning layers, lovely light pressure, and as you progress through the piece and you build the layers up, you start to vary your pressure. So you can have some medium pressure, you can have some dark pressure, you can go back to light pressure, and that's what then starts to bring a portrait together where you've got that lovely contrast, you know, you've got some really stunning sort of vibrant colours, all that type of thing. If you used super light pressure all the way through a portrait, you're going to have a lovely portrait, but it's going to be soft, very soft, and you probably not have as much contrast as you need. You know, so it's really, really important to practice varying your pressure. And varying your pressure, not just sort of in one pencil stroke, but as you're drawing, varying it. So you might be drawing away and you might go light pressure, dark pressure, light pressure. I won't do it there because it will ruin the dog's face. But, you know, just practicing varying the pressure with your hand, you know, and that will make a massive difference to your pieces. So this is all I'm doing now is just sort of following the fur details on here. Just have a look just to see. No, I don't think anybody's got any questions for me. Oh gosh, Robert, it is so hot, isn't it? I mean, I know we shouldn't complain because actually it's not nearly as hot as some places, but yeah, I'm not one for heat. I'm really not one for heat. I've got my windows open, so if anybody can hear anything, I do apologise about that. I've had them open all day, and we've had the builders down the road. So my latest tutorial's got building sound in it and birds, and it's got a horse in it, and and a little bit of me wittering on. So you can see here actually that pink that I put in to begin with is looking okay actually. And then I'm just going to carry on going with this walnut brown here. Now, I talk about drawing or using your pencil strokes in the direction of the fur growth. Sometimes it's really not very easy to do that. So, you know, like this here, it's much easier to draw these strokes coming down. And that's, you know, of course that's okay. It doesn't really matter at all. It's just quite nice to kind of replicate the way the fur grows, really. But that's just me being weird. So, gosh, I've had the dogs aren't with me now. I've got my youngest son down, he's sitting with the dogs because they've been outside. Vincent and Nellie have just been, God, they are such rascals. They've been tearing round the garden. The garden isn't a garden, it's like a building site, it's like a bomb site. It's just dust. So there's dust flying up everywhere. They're tearing round. Vinny's really good actually, and he'll if Nellie kind of goes underneath it, he just knows she's there, and he jumps over her. It's bizarre, but they're now sort of panting like mad in the other room. So I thought, well, you wouldn't want that in the live stream, so I've left them out. Slipper's been a good girl. She's always a good girl. But Vinny and Nelly, the two baby ones, are so naughty. But and Nelly's, oh my goodness, Nelly's really... Oh, I've just got a message from Vicky saying, what pencils am I using? I'm so sorry, I should be telling you this. I'm using Polychromos for this. So this is the Faber-Castell Polychromos. And this one's a walnut brown. So it's a really nice sort of neutral brown. And I'll sort of show you another couple of browns so you can get a gist of what a neutral brown looks like. Well, this will do. This is Bista that's next to it now. So this is a neutral brown, this one. It's quite a sort of warm brown, and the Bista is much more of a greeny brown. So walnut brown is, when I say neutral, it's not a reddy brown, it's not a greeny brown, it's sort of neutral. And then if I bring the, I don't know if you can see those. Oh yeah, you can see that. So this one is the burnt sienna, this one. That's a reddy brown. So you've got, put it that way. So you've got red, neutral, green, red, neutral, green. Obviously they're not green and that's not red, but that's kind of the hues. And it's always good to get all of those sorts of colours in, you know, when you're drawing a portrait, to get all of those different hues in there. So yeah, so apologies about that. So this one I'm just using, and I'm using the Granite Rose, and that's the Caran d'Ache Pablo. That's one of the magic pencils. It's just a brilliant colour. I've got a whole drawer full of them. So if anybody's wanting one, I've got them all. Yeah, so the Pablos are a really good pencil as well. Hi Sue, nice to see you. Yeah, so naughty Vinny and naughty Nelly. And Nelly, oh my goodness, is growing like I don't know what. So she's 12 weeks now. And she, gosh, we weighed her last week and she was 10.9. Then she went to the vets on Tuesday and had her second jab, so she'll be able to go for walks soon. And she was 11.9. I think the scales must have been wrong when we were weighing her at Pet's Corner, but... honestly, she's just, you wake up every morning, she's there, and it's like, my God, you've grown again. But I remember Slipper was like that as well. She's just like, you know, growing like mad. But she's the sweetest girl. And she's got the most gorgeous collar now as well, a little pink and green collar. She's a very sweet girl. But she and Vincent are literally partners in crime. They are so naughty. She spends most of the day with her head in his mouth, and his teeth are massive. So I'm just coming down here again and just kind of work. I might start here actually and then meet myself in the middle. Oh, that's all right, Margaret. Thank you so much. Oh dear, Angie, I'm so sorry. I've got about 3 million of them. Right, so I'm just going to come into here and actually I think I've got the cinnamon. I don't think I mentioned the cinnamon in this one. Maybe I did. I'm going to bring the cinnamon in as well, actually. I've got the cinnamon here, which is a bit more of a, I class it as like a brownie pink, really. But I'm just going to bring a little bit of cinnamon in onto the edge of the nose here so that I can bring a bit of hair in and attach it. So quite a lot of the time I'll kind of start at the top and then come down to the bottom, and then I'll sort of meet in the middle. But again, just really nice light pressure to begin with. Just, you know, trying to kind of colour block and get all of those colours in. And I'm going to come in with the, this is the warm grey 4. And just sort of bring in a little bit of that as well. Now, the Polychromos are a hard pencil, but you still get a lot of pigment from them. There's a lot of pigment comes out on the pastel mat. The pastel mat acts almost like a magnet. You know, it kind of just, you put the pencil near and it's like, and that's fine having lots of pigment, but sometimes you don't want as much pigment as that, and that's why you have to use really light pressure, just so you don't get a massive load of pigment on the page too quickly, because you know, I like to build things up sort of quite slowly and gradually. Okay, so now we need to think about where the sort of middly bit is. It's probably around there. because we've got sort of areas of the nose where there's a bit of a parting, and there's some sort of hair going in odd directions. Now, noses like this look pretty grim for quite some time, just because, you know, you've got to get the colour in, you've got to get the layers in to be able to then start to put the detail in, you know, so they can look a little bit horrible to begin with, but you've just got to have faith and just keep going. So I'm just using this warm grey 4 over the top of that pink there, and that's working okay. I can bring the brown in over the top. Why am I using warm grey 4? Just again, it's a good colour, it's a good neutral colour. It's not really going to affect any other colours that I decide to put over the top of it. So it's quite a good one just for sort of plotting out the fur and everything, you know, before I sort of start putting any major detail or colour or anything like that in. Oh, that's fine, Cheryl, thank you. And oh, hi Patsy, that's nice to see you. Have I completed a whole piece using only... Oh, do you know, Laura, I'm so bad. I start off a piece and I go, right, I'm just going to use X pencil, and then I just can't help myself. I just have to use them all. There's one piece, in fact Casper, the yellow Labrador that I did, a lot of him was the Luminance, but I still used other colours in there, and I just have favourites really that it's kind of I use all of the time, and I feel guilty about not using them. I know it sounds really stupid, but yeah, so I haven't ever done one piece just in one pencil, I don't think. I think I've always sort of like had a bit of a mix and match type thing. Okay, so I'm just going to come in here again. I'm just going to carry on using this warm grey because it's reacting quite nicely with the pink and it's quite neutral. And I'm just sort of starting to bring in a little bit more of that texture and everything on there. Now I've got to be really careful when I'm doing the bridge of the nose here, because it is flat, and it's very tempting to kind of do this sort of thing and bring the pencil in on a rounded shape, which means that what will end up, the nose will end up looking like it's got a round bit there, a dip in the middle, and then a round bit there. You might get that with sort of like a, you know, a longer haired dog where the hair sort of stands up a little bit, but a short haired nose like this, you wouldn't have that sort of those bulges on either side, you know, so you've got to be really, really careful with your mark making, that you're not making the nose a different shape. It doesn't matter a hoot whether you've got the most fantastic outline, anything like that. If you get your shading wrong, you know, once you've started drawing, if you get your shading wrong, the piece isn't going to, this piece isn't going to be right, basically. So the shading, basically, and how you shade and how you create the light and the dark, how you kind of replicate the fur and everything, that is going to be what makes your portrait, not because you've got the most fantastic outline. You know, so you've got to be really, really careful about the placement of the of your pencil marks, so that you don't make the dog's face different to what it actually is. And that's a really common thing to do with dog noses. I think we talked about this before. It's a really, really common thing to do with dog noses, because you can have the perfect outline and then your shading's out and then your nose looks wonky. So, you know, I think shading is one of the most vital skills, I think, for you know, for an artist to be able to recognise the, you know, the planes of the face and all of that type of thing. I think it's really, really important. Right, okay, so that's not looking so bad. I might have to bring in something in here because that's all looking a bit strange. How do you transfer original drawing to pastel mat? Cheryl, you can do it in all sorts of different ways. You can create your original drawing on another piece of paper, and then you could use trace down paper, where you have like a piece of graphite backed paper, and you can use that in between your piece of paper. That can be a little bit messy, I have to say. I used to do it that way, and it's just really messy. And one of the really quite easiest ways of doing it is to put pastel or graphite on the back of a printout, or your original drawing. You flip it over, you put a layer of graphite or pastel, or even colour pencil on the back of the paper, and then you flip it back over, put it onto your pastel mat, and then trace over it, and then what you've drawn on the back, the scribbles you've done on the back, then transfers over to the pastel mat. So you could do it that way. So I wouldn't recommend using a grid on pastel mat, purely because it's really, really difficult to get the outlines off. It really is difficult to get the outlines off. So I wouldn't recommend doing your original drawing as a grid on pastel mat, unless you're going to be doing a background. But even then, just be careful. Don't use graphite on the pastel mat if you're going to be using coloured pencil, because they don't really mix that well. And if you need to get rid of the lines, it's quite difficult. So, I think that's Slipper at the door, and she's obviously got a tickle. Hang on a second. Slipper, stop it. She's laid against the door and she's scratching herself. It sounds like somebody's banging on the door. So anyway, so let's come down here. And now I've got, if I'm using multiple pencils, if I'm using multiple brands of pencils, do you use them in a particular order? Carol, I don't tend to, and it depends on the paper I'm using. So if I just need to plug my iPad in. Just excuse me, just a minute. If I am using, oops, let's get rid of that. If I'm using pastel mat, it doesn't matter. For me, it doesn't matter what pencil I put down first, because they'll all work over the top of each other. However, I quite like to use a hardish pencil to begin with, just because it sort of it reacts to the tooth a little bit better for me. Rather than using something like a Lightfast or a Luminance. Saying that, I do use Luminance quite a bit as an initial layer if I'm doing a really light animal, because they've got some really great light colours. But if I was using smooth paper, and also the Studios are great as a first layer on pastel mat. If I was using a smooth paper, I could use Studios to begin with, but if I wanted to use them later on, they're not very good on smooth paper at covering other brands of pencils, because they're so hard and so subtle. So there I would have to be quite careful about the order in which I use them. But I don't think there's any particular order that you need to, or you have to, or what works better. I think it's all very much personal preference. So I've just switched to the burnt sienna here. I'm just putting a little bit, a very, very soft layer of the burnt sienna in, and then what I want to do is bring in the putty eraser and start to bring in some of those little highlighty bits. So I'm just sort of, again, it looks like I'm drawing every hair, but all I'm doing is I'm just adding layers and adding the texture of the fur in. It kind of makes sense to me to do that. Wish my nose. Hi Joanne, got some near colour 2, excited to try them as an underpainting. Any tips? Oh yes, so the near colour 2, are they the water, I think they're the water soluble ones, aren't they? One thing that I would say is, if you're going to use them as an underpainting, be very light-handed when you're putting your layer of near colour 2 down. It will look sort of a bit scratchy and patchy and not very nice, but it will change once you get the water on. But what happens if you put too much on, if you put too much pressure on, they're obviously waxy, and what can happen is you can just add too much of them, and they they'll fill all of the tooth in, and then it will be really difficult to sort of fill it all in. You know, so I've just had a message as well about pastel matte board and pastel matte paper, I think. Are they the same thing? They are the same thing. They're the same product. They're the same surface. I don't know why, but pastel matte board is smoother. It's definitely smoother. I mean, considerably smoother. And that's why I like the pastel matte board. It's a much nicer surface for pencil artists, colour pencil artists to draw on. It's expensive, I know, and I know that it's really hard to get in the US. You know, it's a bit of a pain, but it's such a lovely surface to draw on. It really is. So you can see here, I'm just kind of pulling this burnt sienna down very lightly. You know, my pencil strokes are very light. It's nice to actually be back drawing on the pastel matte, because I did my little oh, I should have had it, I've taken it to the framers, I could have showed you it all. The study, the horse nose study with the fuzzy noseband, and that was on smooth paper, and my goodness, my wrist was hurting after that because of the burnishing and everything. You know, I find drawing on smooth paper, I find it really, I have to use much harder pressure, you know, whereas the pastel matte, it really is very soft pressure that I use. Right, so what I'm going to do here is I'm actually going to bring in, I'm going to use the dark sepia. I'm actually going to bring in a little bit of context here, because otherwise it's going to look really weird. So I'm just going to bring in just a little bit of the dark sepia here. And I'm just going to sort of pull in a bit of that dark colour in there. Sort of scribble it in there. I always find that things look very different when you draw the surrounding stuff in. So that's why I always kind of go to and fro between things, because once I've put something in, the thing that I think I've finished and looks fine, I then have to revisit and go back again, because whatever you've put in around it, it's probably not making any sense at all, but you know, it kind of is the context of how everything works. So I'm finding that I can explain it a little bit more when I show you the lovely Parker that I'm drawing at the moment. So oh, and then I've got my new camera. Oh, so that's really exciting. And the bank refused a payment, and I was, and it was late on a couple of nights ago, and I was like, oh God, I think I've been spending too much, and they've kind of unusual activity on your account. So I had to ring them the next morning. I was like, no, it is me, don't worry, it's I'm just buying loads of new camera equipment. So I bought a swanky new camera, and it's actually a proper camcorder. It's a video recorder rather than an actual camera, so I won't have the issues of it. I mean, I'm using like a little webcam at the minute, but I was hoping to use my DSLR, but it was just too problematic because it would switch off after sort of 25 minutes. Even when I had like a link in to make it like a camcorder, it would switch off. I think because it doesn't have, you know, if you switch a DSLR on, it has like a safety thing, and it will turn itself off, and there's no way of stopping it. And well, there are ways of stopping it, but it's a bit awkward. So I bought myself a lovely new camcorder, which is great. But now what I'm doing is I'm buying a load of tripods, and I'm buying an overhead rig, and oh my God, honestly, it's endless. It's like, oh, well, I need this now, and oh, I need this now, and so it's yeah, it's all quite expensive, but I'm hoping it's going to be worth it, because I think it's quite a good quality camera, and it's so easy to use. You know, and I can kind of zoom in at the touch of a button, and oh yeah, I'm quite excited about it actually. Let's have a look, see if there are any more. Received smooth, but very normally is more sandy. Thank you so much for all the, I received a very smooth pastel matte. It's the look of the draw. It's the look of the draw as to what you get. You know, sometimes it's smooth, sometimes it's not, and I find that the pastel matte board is more consistent. So I'm just coming in now, just coming in now with my putty eraser just to bring in some highlighty bits in here. This is something that I always do. I like to put my pigment in and then come in and take it all back out again. And just put all my little highlights in. It gives me a softer feel to my highlights. And I just really like to draw with an eraser, really. I like that subtraction method. It works quite well for me. So that's all I'm doing there. I think I've gone a bit too... I need to come in here a little bit. My usual poor attempt at a line art, honestly, is terrible. I see people saying, "Oh, I've just spent, I don't know, an hour, 2 hours, 3 hours, whatever, drawing a line art." And there's me. I've just spent 5 minutes drawing my line art. Honestly, and I don't know why I do it, because if I spent a little bit longer, I'd probably find it much easier. But I tend to just not. I work freehand really mostly. And that's kind of all of the middle bits. I never kind of put any detail in, really, if I can help it. Or if I do put detail in, I end up rubbing it back out again. Yeah, I'm an absolute terror for creating a really poor outline. So this is the warm grey too that I'm just going in here and just sort of lightening off this bit here. So the warm greys and the, any light colour really over the top of anything that's a little bit darker on pastel mat is brilliant, because it will just, you can kind of adjust things, amend things. It just works really, really well. Random question. Do you think you'd buy any more dogs after your new arrival? That's a really funny question. Do you know, I'd have so many dogs if I could. I love them. I love them all. No, I think at the moment, I don't think I could fit four big dogs into the house. I just don't think they'd fit. And I'm I'll be having my garden done as well, hopefully very soon. And they've absolutely wrecked the garden. They really have. It's just mud. It's horrific. But no, I love my doggies. I've always had dogs, and I think they're just, the good dogs. And they're all so different, Although saying that, Nellie and Slipper are very, very similar in how they act, how they sleep, how they their favourite sleeping place, their favourite sleeping position. They're very, very, very similar, and they are sisters. They are sort of half sisters, the same mum. And it's and then Vincent's just like this big weird thing. It's like a big articulated truck moving around the studio. His back half doesn't really do the same thing as his front half does. He's quite funny, but he's ever such a sweet boy. He's so gentle with the puppy, and he's a darling. He really is a darling boy. So just again, just kind of putting those highlights in and then working through them, and then I'm just going to put some more highlights in. Gosh, I'm absolutely boiled here. I've got my windows open, but it's so hot. I think it doesn't help with my I've got my big studio light on as well. It's like sitting in front of the sun. I think I'm going to if I put my hand over something, it's just going to take everything off, because it's all sweaty and horrible. Okay, so I'm just going to come back in here as well. It's quite light on the bridge of the nose here too, so just putting that pigment in and then like lifting it out a little bit. You're not taking everything out, but you're just sort of lifting a little bit and leaving those little highlighty bits there. So, next week as well, I'm not doing a live draw on the Thursday, because it's my birthday. It's my 50th birthday, and I'm having some sort of a do, which is exciting. And I've been told I can't do the live draw, so I'm going to move that to the Friday instead. That'll be quite nice. So I'm quite excited about my, well, I don't think I am excited about being 50, actually. Don't think I'm excited at all. But I got the most fantastic present from my children. Gorgeous painting, drawing from a wonderful friend and artist in America, Judy Wysocki, and it's a male lion and a lion cub, and I'd loved it ever since she first started drawing it. And when my children said to me, what do I want for my birthday? She'd reposted it on Facebook, and I was like, do you know what? I want that drawing. So I contacted her and I said, have you still got it? Is it for sale? And anyway, it's at my framers as we speak. And I sent him a text this morning and I said, oh, Ian, can you put special glass in it, please? And his reply was, hang on, I'll tell you what his reply was. It's quite nice, actually. What was his reply? Oops, not there. His reply is, you don't need to worry about anything with that picture, Bonnie. Joe and I have it all under control. So I'm hoping that's a good thing. I'm really hoping that's a good thing. But I can't wait to get it home. It's absolutely stunning. It's just, I mean, I loved it in the pictures, but the photographs don't do it justice at all. So I'm really excited to get that home, which is good. And then I know my daughter has got some fun things for me as well. So yeah, it's gonna be a good day, I think. What have we got here? Oh, if your daughter hadn't bought you pencils a few years ago, what do you think I'd be doing now? Wow, Deborah, that is a really good question. Do you know what? I don't know. I don't know. I'm sure I was destined to be doing this. So I'm sure I kind of would have stumbled into it then, but I really don't know, because I was doing management. I might even be sort of like still doing the training side of stuff, leadership and management training and coaching, and the coaching side of things I really enjoyed, and I did that for a few years. So it could be that I'd still be doing that. I don't know, but honestly, I had no inkling that I would be doing what I'm doing now 4 years ago. No idea at all. I didn't sort of start writing my plan until I think it was about September 2016. So this time 4 years ago, I was drawing sort of portraits for people, and everything was like, yeah, this is great. But I never sort of was thinking at that point, this time 4 years ago in June 2016, I never sort of was thinking, oh, this is going to be a full-time job. It didn't really even occur to me, I guess because I was in a job that I enjoyed, it's been a mad 4 years. It really has been a mad 4 years. So many things have happened, and it's, and here I am. with my muddy poured shirt and my sweating face, drawing spaniel noses every Thursday. It's great fun. Yes, Virginia, I'm glad as well. I've had times before. Oh God, they do all sorts of awful things. I've had somebody bought a fridge freezer using my bank card before. I have no idea how, but yeah. Is sepia more brownish grey and Payne's grey? Oh yes, I can show you actually. So that's that, and that's that. So Laurie, I don't know whether you can see those. Oh, you can see. I think you can see. That's a bit better there. Sorry, my grubby nails. That's the dark sepia, and that's Payne's grey. So the dark sepia is more of a warm grey, and the Payne's grey is more of a blue grey, much more of a blue grey actually. So that's the difference. Great. You're drawing a dolphin. Oh, well, I'd say the Payne's grey would be perfect for a dolphin. Bonnie, could you kindly show again the direction of the strokes on the side of the nose? Yeah, so down here. So if I come down here, I'm just going to use that warm grey 4 again. The strokes on the side of the nose, they're not, this isn't the best photograph, I know that, but the strokes on the side of the nose, what you're wanting to get is you don't want, well, here they're going back a little bit, and then it comes round, and then it starts to come down. And this is the important thing, really taking notice of your reference photos so that your hair direction goes in the right place. Because if you kept on going across like that, you're going to have a dog, a spaniel, with a really wide fat nose. You know, even if you'd put sort of lines and marks in there, so I've got a mark here for this sort of cheeky bit here, you know, even if you've got this in, if you do your shading that way and your lines that way, the whole structure of the dog underneath the skin is going to change. And that's why the hair direction on animals, dogs, horses, cats, yeah, kind of. You can't always see the underlying structure on a cat because they tend to have quite fluffy faces, but you know, but it's so important to, that's one of the things that you need to really take notice of. And that's what's particularly hard, I think, in drawing animals, is kind of understanding how the hair falls. And actually there are some really good illustrations. If you Google hair direction on horse or hair direction on dog, there's some really good illustrations that show you the direction of the fur, and you'll get like an outline like this, and then you'll get arrows, little arrows, and the arrows are all pointing in the direction of the hair growth. So if you're not entirely certain when you're drawing something, if you can't really see from the picture, you know, something like that is really helpful, especially for horses. Because if you get the hair growth wrong on a horse, if you don't really know horses and you get the hair growth wrong on a horse, it is going to stand out like a sore thumb. It really is. So it's really important that your hair growth is correct. And if you can't see the hair growth, then don't try and, you know, guess where it's going to go. Just don't put any hair direction in at all. I do need someone to wipe my brow and get me cool drinks. Angie, yes, I do. Oh, thank you, everybody. Thank you. Oh, it's gorgeous, isn't it, Cheryl? Absolutely gorgeous. Did I like art as a kid at school? Yeah, I did, Lisa, yeah. And I drew at school. And I left school at 15 wanting to do art. I wanted to go and do a degree. And I left and I went to my local college, which in hindsight I don't think was the best thing, but you know, actually in hindsight it probably was the best thing because I'm doing what I'm doing now. But I went for 2 years to do sort of like a general art and design because I was too young to do a foundation degree, which is what you'd normally do. You know, if you left at 17, say, after you'd done A levels. But I left at school at 15, went straight to sort of like my local college, did 2 years of this art and design course. Hated almost every single minute of it. You know, I was good at drawing, but I wanted to draw stuff not like this because I didn't know I could draw like this, but I wanted to draw little things. I wanted to draw detailed things, and they wouldn't allow me to draw detailed things. Everything had to be big. Everything had to be sort of bold, and you know, I can remember them sending me out with an easel and charcoal and some massive pieces of paper, and I was told I had to go and sit under a disused railway carriage and kind of draw what I could see from underneath it. And it was just like, this is awful. And there was no inspiration or anything, and I hated it, and consequently left with I got a diploma and it was fine, but I left with no place at art college. I couldn't go on and do a degree at art college, so my dad got me a job at a local advertising agency. He knew the owner of this advertising agency, and I went and was a tea girl, and that's where I learnt the art of paste up, the old art of paste up. So there weren't no computers or anything like that. I learnt how to paste, copy up, you know, cut and stick and all of that type of stuff. And then I learnt how to use a big typesetting machine, which was all coding, and it was the size of it was massive, this massive great big blue machine. It was called a CompuGraphic, and it had the type you know, how you changed your type was on like a big belt that you kind of put around this drum, and it spun round. I'm showing my age now, clearly. And I had to sort of type all of this code in to be able to get my line length, my font size, you know, line leading, all of that type of stuff. It was really interesting, actually. And then I started to use a Mac and went on, taught myself to type, and I became a typesetter. So I was a typesetter for many years, and a layout designer, never a designer because I'm not very good at coming up with ideas, but a layout designer. Yeah. So, and then I went on to management and coaching. So I've kind of always been in the creative world, but drawing never, since I left school at 15, college at 17. I didn't really do anything like that until 2016, which is, you know, it's amazing. Oh, Rob, you've got a lot of trouble knowing whether things are warm or cool. Well, so the thing that I think of is, let me just get a couple out for you. So these are quite good, these two. So I've got a cold grey 3 and a warm grey 2 here. And this one is the warm grey, and it's like a yellowy colour. And this one is the cold one, and it's like a bluey colour. And if I'm looking at a picture, I will say, does it look like it's got, I don't know, like a bit of a fire, you know, like it's got a fire reflection in it? Does it look like it's got reddy colours, yellowy colours, orangey colours in it? Or, you know, does it look sort of like that warm, glowy feeling? Or does it look like it's quite cold? You know, and that's how I work out whether I'm going to put a warm colour or a cold colour in. And actually, I've learned to mix warms and cool colours together, because they mix brilliantly, and you do get a mixture of warm and cool colours, you know, in animals anyway. So that's how I kind of see it. I'm sure there's a scientific reasoning behind it. Oh, talking of science, so I've got this chap who is one of my patrons, and he sent me this. It's called Miles, and he sent me this email today, and he is a surface analyzer. I think I've got that right. He analyzes surfaces, and he's been analysing pastel mat. So he's been putting pastel mat underneath a microscope and analysing all of the different things and everything in it. And he's sent me the photos of the pastel mat, and it is really scary. And on the photo, he put something like pastel mat, blah, 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 very hairy. And I guess that's all of the fibres and everything that's in the pastel mat. But he is going to, very, very kindly, he's going to write me an article, you know, about surface papers. He's also looking into light fastness, and whether reflection from glass has any reaction to light fastness, and whether it helps it or not, which sounds, you know, absolutely amazing. He's you know, really, really interesting chap. And I'm hoping that he's going to come and do a Q&A with me as well, you know, all about surfaces and, you know, acid levels and all of that type of thing, what's in papers. So I think that'll be quite interesting, actually. I get meet some incredibly interesting people. Bonnie, when you do a commission drawing of a large dog like a Great Dane or one like Vinny, do you prefer drawing the whole dog for your client or just Hedgehog? Do you know, Alexander, that depends on the photograph. If I get a really, really amazing photo where the whole body is there and it's clear, it doesn't have to all be in focus, but it's a clear shot. Do you know, I love to draw the whole of an animal. And with a dog, I think a whole dog is a really, really great portrait to draw. So I think it depends on the photograph, you know. And the one I'm drawing at the minute, this little Frenchie, he's a whole dog. He's missing a bit of a paw, but you know, he's a whole dog portrait. Because I just saw the photograph and I was like, you know what, that is just fabulous. I need to draw the whole thing. So you know. How did you initially learn your techniques? Oh, Cheryl, how did I? Well, so I I think I did my first coloured pencil drawing in, I think it was around March or April 2016, and I just kind of just drew something. It wasn't particularly good, and then I visualise. I'm a big visualiser, and I guess I got in my head what I wanted my drawings to look like, and that's what I kind of always worked towards. And when I first started drawing in 2016, I mean, I'm quite tech savvy, but I didn't really know anything about YouTube or anything like that. So it didn't even occur to me to look on YouTube to find any tutorials or anything like that. All I did was I just drew. I just kind of drew. And I think I joined a couple of groups later on that year and sort of, you know, followed different artists. And I think what happens is you pick up and you're influenced by so many different things. You know, you might pick up a tip here, you might pick up a tip there. I picked up a lot of tips from Lisa Clough, you know, Lisa Lackery Fine Art, a lot of tips from her. You know, once I discovered that YouTube actually was pretty brilliant, you know, I kind of watched a lot of her videos, and that's how I ended up with the majority of my art stuff, I think. I mean, she draws in a very different way to me, but, you know, a lot of the tips about, you know, how to, like the magic tape and all of that type of stuff. But I think my style of drawing, I don't think it's unique. I think, you know, many people use a very similar style. But I guess we just sort of hone our craft, don't we? The more we do, the more we sort of see what works, what doesn't work. You know, I like to sort of experiment a little bit, definitely with colour. But I think how my drawing has developed is a lot around feel, because I'm a very feely person. And I think a lot of how I've developed my techniques is around feel. You know, and that's why I've kind of tried different pencils and all of that type of stuff, because to me it's not about colour as, you know, choosing a pencil. It's more about how that pencil is going to feel on the paper. And that's why I hate using anything really underneath the pencil, because the feeling of that pencil then completely changes. So I can't bear drawing over the top of pastel. I mean, pastel makes me cough and lose my voice anyway, but I can't bear drawing over the top of it. I can't bear drawing over the top of pan pastel. It just sets my teeth on edge. I lose all of the love of coloured pencil and drawing when I do that. So I just don't. But I think I've had influences from a lot of people. I did a couple of workshops early on I went full time in January 2017. And I did a couple of workshops in 2017 using techniques that I, you know, that were completely new to me and were brilliant. And, you know, I think it's fantastic to learn different techniques, but not techniques that I now use. You know, so I guess it's just drawing. It's drawing and knowing what you're aiming for. And then trying new things. And I'm pretty good at, if something doesn't work, I'm pretty good at changing it, you know. So if I'm getting the same result over and over again, I'm pretty good at going, yeah, no, that's not working, I need to change it. So I think that's how I've sort of built up, you know, what I do. And I have such a passion for it as well, you know, which makes a massive difference. You know, if you're really passionate about something, you just want to be doing it all of the time, you know, and that's kind of, yeah, I'm kind of like that. I just want to be drawing all of the time. So I'm just going to just smooth this off here a little bit, so it's not such a massive sort of change from one colour to the other. Just see if there's any other questions in there. Oh, do our clients ever watch when I'm drawing their commissions? Yes, Joni. So in fact, the last 3 Labradors that I've done, my clients were watching. So I always tell them that I'm going to be doing it. I always ask them if it's okay, you know, that I do it. But yes, I've done some live streaming on Facebook, and they've been watching, which is really nice, actually. You know, it's I really like that that they sort of, you know, get involved and everything. But so I don't know. I mean, I suppose I should be feeling a bit daunted, you know, if the client's there watching me talking about their dog and drawing and chatting and not taking any notice as what I'm doing. But no, I really like it. Oh, thank you. Right, so what I'm going to do now is just start to bring in a little tiny weeny bit of detail into here. That pink was a really good choice of mine to put down first, because actually it's worked really, really nicely with the walnut brown. You'll find that pinks and browns, these neutral browns, work very nicely, and pinks are a great colour to use in animal fur. They really are a good colour. And that Granite Rose, once you get stock back in, it's a really super colour to it'll mix really well with oranges as well. It's a good colour. Yeah, I know, Alexandra, I know, and I'm not, I don't purport to know everything about colour theory or anything like that. I'm just like, yeah, if it looks blue, it's cold. If it looks yellow or red, it's warm. I'll just stick with that. So I'm now going to bring in a little bit more of the Granite Rose, actually. Oh, that's nice. I think that's great. I'm going to call you K Best, because that's what you are in the chat. But that's brilliant that you started. I think a lot of people have started doing sort of different things during the lockdown. I think it's been a very strange few months, but I think there's some real positives have come out of it, actually. I know I've had quite a few people join me over on Patreon, and I'm guessing that's because they've probably all been completely bored at home and wanted something to do. So I'm hoping they're going to stay. Yeah, I think it's so exciting when you find a new passion. So I'm just bringing this pinky colour in here and in there. Might have to bring a bit of brown in there as well. But so these edges here, and something that I like to do an awful lot in my portraits where I can, is use something called a lost edge. And if you've ever had work critiqued by me, then you'll know what I'm always banging on about lost edges, and I get all giddy. Oh, look at this lost edge. Basically, a lost edge is where you kind of floats off into the paper, and that's what I really love about white on white paper, white dogs on, or white animals on white paper, is that you can get all of these lovely lost edges, and it just makes everything look a little bit, I don't know, just makes them look really lovely. You know, so I try never to have sort of like an outline around anything. I always have the colour sort of floating off around the edges. I think it just looks really nice. So, but then my work is kind of, I do like the sort of soft, subtle feel, you know, so that's what I'm always kind of working towards, is that soft, subtle look. So I'm going to use the warm grey 2 here and just bring in a little bit of, I don't know why I'm using the warm grey 2. I think I'm just wanting to tone down that pink a little bit. Sometimes I'll pick a pencil, start using it, and I'm never overly sure why, but it tends to kind of work out. So I'll just come into here as well, and then we can just put a little bit more of this, smooth it all out a little bit, and then I can start bringing in a bit of the detail around it. And then down here as well, just start smoothing out this a little bit. So I'm hoping to get my new camera. I've got batteries for it, and the only downside is that with my camera I could have I could plug it into the mains, and I didn't have to work off a battery, you know, which is great. But with this one, I can't do that. So I've got 3 heavy-duty batteries that I'm going to have sort of like lined up, so I can kind of swap them out. I'm hoping it doesn't overheat. I might wait until it gets a bit cooler. And yeah, and I've got my big old memory card that goes into it, and then I'm hoping I'm going to get some better quality I mean, the quality that I'm doing now is you know, is absolutely fine, but I'm hoping to get some better quality video. So it's quite exciting. But that's another thing, trying to find the right setup for recording your work is a nightmare. You know, there's loads of people who have YouTube videos for sort of like, you know, doing YouTube or gaming or, you know, reviews or anything like that. But I've not really seen an artist who shares all of their tips for an overhead camera that's on an angle, because I work on an angle, so I need an overhead camera that's kind of shooting down and to an angle. And, you know, nobody seems to be willing to kind of share their anything. So I'm kind of having to work out everything on my own, work out how, you know, what works, what doesn't work, buy all of this stuff that then doesn't work. And, you know, so I think once I get my setup set up, I'm going to record it and do a YouTube video so that I can share that with other artists, so that they know what works and what doesn't work. And I've actually done that with a few artists, done sort of Zooms and told them exactly what I'm using, you know, at the moment, you know, so yeah, I think I'm gonna do that once I get my snazzy overhead rig. I'm going to be like all the gear and no idea, I think. Let's have a look. So good at multitasking. Yeah, Cheryl. Yeah, no. I'm not sure whether I am or not. I'm probably well, yeah. I'm good at talking. I'm good at that. Do you ever start a commission, realise you don't like it and scrap it to start again? Laura, yes. Simple question, yes. I think you know when something's not working. And I think you know that, you know, as long as I mean, I wouldn't get into a portrait and do the majority of it and then go, oh, I don't like this. I'd carry on. But you might get to a point where it's not sort of like a disaster if you started again, and it's like, yeah, do you know what? I'm going to redo this because I'm really not happy with how it's going. So yes, I do. I definitely do. And actually, I did that with the. I'll get it for you in a minute. I did that with the focus horsey focus thing, with the noseband. And what I did was I kind of stopped and was like, yeah, no, this isn't working. But then I had a bit of a practice and a look at colours and everything on it. So that was quite useful, actually. But I'll show you that in a second. If you can't get Granite Rose as an alternative colour, yes, I'd use something like the light flesh. It's now called red beige, something like that. That's not a bad. It's a bit yellowy, but it's not a bad substitute. So anything really would be fine. Or even like a Prisma or something like that would be good. But it's the Granite Rose is like a really good pinky pink. Oh, thank you, Shad. I'm a girl from Saudi Arabia, and this is the first time I see this channel, but I see that you like to draw animals more and see that you're very accurate. That's very kind of you. Thank you. Drawing's looking great. Thank you so much. Do you have to use a spray fix? No fixatives. Better have your daughter around for help setting up. Yeah, no, she gets really mad with me. She has low. She's probably listened to this. She has low tolerance levels with her mother. She's brilliant. She's an amazing girl, fantastic daughter. But she gets really mad with me. Do you send them? No, I don't send them videos or anything like that. If they want to watch the videos, they can see them on my Facebook. I just tend to send them like a picture, you know, like a work in progress picture. How long does it take to complete a drawing? Usually it was going to take me around, usually takes around 40 hours, you know, to create a commission piece. Maybe a little bit longer depending on the size of it or the complexity of it. So all of the bridal work on the horse that I've just done, that took me longer because obviously it's more intricate and you've got all of that bridal work to do. So, you know, it can take a little bit longer there. But yeah, probably between 40 and 60 hours, I'd say. Thank you so much, Nicole. That's really kind. What about Deco Pink? Yeah, so anything like that that's sort of like that real pinky pink. Oh, that sounds brilliant. You want to participate in exhibitions, but you feel, oh, negative. Well, yeah, that's the thing, you see, isn't it? The problem is if you've got to try and kind of bypass that, because you can't dictate and you can't control what other people think, but you can control how you react to other people, and that's the only thing that you can do, is make sure that any reaction that you make to anything that's negative isn't going to have a negative effect on you. You know, if you can't control something, then you can't control it, and you kind of have to let it go. So right, I'm just going to bring in a little bit more of the burnt sienna into here. And down into here as well, and just sort of fuzz that out a bit. I might even just bring in the paper stump a little bit and just paper stump it. So when I use the paper stump on pastel mat, it's not often that I do, but it is a really good little tip, just to kind of fuzz things out, and you get a really nice soft edge. If you're going to use one, use it really gently, and I'll show you why. Just going to move this over here a little bit. So if I was going to put some colour down here, and I wanted to sort of let's put a little bit more so it's not quite as hard, and I wanted to paper stump it. In fact, I'll put another little bit down, and then I can show you them both together. It probably will work brilliantly, and I'll be like, oh. So if I wanted to paper stump it, if I go really nice and lightly, I can kind of just fuzz it out. I can fuzz the edges out, and it just sort of like blends really nicely, and you get a really nice soft feeling in there. If I was to go, oh gosh, I need to fuzz this out, and I go, oh, that's not good because it's got a different colour on it, and I go really hard. Okay, so I've gone really hard, it's fuzzed it all out, that's great. But then if I want to go in again now with another colour on here, if I go in here, I can go in really nice and gently, and it's kind of fine, everything's okay. If I go in here, it goes really, I don't know whether you can see that, it goes really grainy. And what happens is when you press the paper into the paper stump into the paper, it kind of reveals all of the tooth, and it just is horrible. So just use it really gently. You know, if you're using the paper stump. So if I was going to use that paper stump here, I'm just using it very gently, just literally fuzzing. So you just fuzz the edges. How long did it take you to learn your pencils, which pencils to use, which colours to choose, and where? Oh, that's a really good question, actually. I think I'm still learning, because there's obviously new colours kind of come out all of the time, you know, with the light fast and everything like that. Now, Luminance, I've only just started, probably in the last 6 months, maybe even shorter than that. I've had the Luminance, but I've only just started to really utilise them and really use them and really fall in love with them. I kind of felt a bit guilty because everyone was saying how beautiful Luminance were, and oh, they're the creme de la creme and all of this type of stuff, the Rolls Royce of pencils. And I'm like, yeah, I don't really get it because I don't really like them. But I think maybe because my techniques have kind of, you know, my skills have got better. I've developed a little bit more. I'm kind of learning how to use the Luminance now, and I absolutely love them. I love them so much so that I've just ordered another full set from Caran d'Ache, and I've got 2 sets of the new colours coming. So I'm a bit naughty like that, but yeah, I think the more you use a pencil, or the more you kind of discover how your techniques work, the easier it is then to sort of work out what colours to use. And I think we all have favourites. We all have colours that are absolute firm favourites, and we know that they work. So I have a very set number of colours for an eye. So I'll always use burnt ochre. I'll always, well, for an orange eye, a green one I'm not going to use burnt ochre, but for an orangey coloured eye, burnt ochre, terracotta, burnt sienna, walnut brown, dark indigo, warm grey, and an apricot, either an apricot Pablo or an apricot Luminance, and that, and caput mortuum violet, and that is my, I guess, my recipe for an orangey dog eye. And every single time I will use those colours because I know they work. I know they work really well. And why change them? So, you know, I think you just kind of get used to the colours that you use. But then what happens is you kind of use these colours and you're like, yeah, these colours, brilliant. And then you forget about other colours and you're like, oh, God, I forgot about that colour. That's an amazing colour. I should be using that. And it's like, you know, now I've got all my pencils set out next to me, and they're all in set up in colour coded. So they're all in jars. It sounds very neat and tidy, and it's absolutely not. Half of them are still on the floor. But yeah, they're all colour coded. So if I need a yellow, I can go and get a yellow. If I need a blue, I can go and get a blue. So that's been really, really helpful actually. I'm rummaging around all of the time trying to find stuff. What's we got here? Bonnie, our temperature here right now would probably drive you mad. Oh my God. Yeah, no, I couldn't deal with that. I could not deal with that. I'm sitting here it's probably about 19 degrees here, and I'm like, oh my God, it's too hot. So how to strap down pastel mat board? That's a really good question, Carissa. How to strap down pastel mat board? Do you know, the best things I've found are the really, really, really strong magnets from, well, I've got some really strong magnets with my Icarus board, but they're brilliant, and you kind of just pop them on either corner. I've got masking tape that's strapping this down. And I was using the Faber-Castell tackets, but they pop up. So I thought they were brilliant, and then they turned out not to be quite so brilliant. It is a blooming funny surface. It does just kind of ping up. It drives me mad. Can I draw a hedgehog? I'd love to draw a hedgehog. Yeah. Yeah, I should draw a hedgehog actually on drafting film. That would be good. Oh yes, I do like my new printer. I told you about that last week, didn't I? Where I was standing there at the back of it going, why am I having to put all of this paper in the back when there's a front, and there was a front feeder and I didn't have to. But yeah, it's a good printer actually. I'm not doing prints or anything on it. I'm just sort of printing, I don't know, stuff for the solicitor off on it at the moment. You know, sort of birth certificates and things like that. So yeah, so it's not a printer for you know, for printing fine art prints or anything like that. There's no way I'm getting into that. I'm going to be using a print on demand company. I mean, you know my aversity to postage anyway, so there is not a cat in hell's chance that I'm going to be spending 3 days packing something and then going to the post office with a load of parcels. That's just not going to happen. Yeah, fuzzing. It's Tina. I have a lot of technical terms like that. Aha moment about using the paper stump lightly. I really did like. Yeah, Claire. You know, there's nothing wrong with hard pressure. I mean, there's some artists out there who use really, really hard pressure and have the most beautiful work. But it's, you know, it's how you kind of utilize your pencils with that, and you know, how do you find the same color as the picture? Oh, that's a good question. Actually, this isn't very similar to the picture at all. It's quite different. But basically, I look at the picture and I see colour, and what happens is the colour kind of pops out at me, and a colour will pop into my head, and I'll be like, oh, that colour is, and then I can kind of say, it's got a little bit of this in it, it's got a little bit of that in it, if I layer this, and then layer that, and then layer the other. So it's almost like, my brain almost works like that pencil picker app, and it kind of says, yeah, those are the colours that you need to put down. And then it just kind of works out. So, but the thing with colour is it's so personal, and we all see colour differently as well. So that's you know, I like to name all of the colours. Well, I haven't really been very good. This is cinnamon that I'm using here. But I like to name all of the colours in my tutorials and let people know what colours I'm using. You know, because I think it's important. If if you struggle to sort of like recognize colors, it can be really, really frustrating actually if you're watching something and you don't know what on earth color they're using. So I try very hard to kind of name all of the colors, but I do get carried away a little bit. This next tutorial will be fine because it's just grey. I'll show you him in a minute. He's very cute, but he is just grey. Cheryl's getting excited. Have I considered doing a studio tour? Oh, Hazel, you would not want to have a tour of my studio at the minute. Honestly, it's such a mess. I tidy it up every week. Honestly, I really do tidy it up every week. And then at the end of every week, it's full of boxes. It's full of, I don't know, it's just got stuff everywhere. I've got pictures everywhere. I've got pictures waiting to post for me to get my act together and actually wrap them up. It's really messy. When I get it all beautifully set up and I've got my overhead rig and everything like that, I'll show you. But not today. Yeah, Hedgehog, yeah. An Icarus board, Cheryl, it's a big painting board. It's got a smooth surface and it's heated. So you heat it up and you draw over the top of it, or draw on the top of it. You put your paper on the top of it, and the heat melts your pencils. And it's, yeah. And I've yet to find the time to do a big tutorial on it. I've done a couple of pieces on it, and it's fab. I don't want to be using it in this weather because I'll be really, really even hotter than I am now. So I'll wait till the winter when it's a little bit cooler and I need to warm up. But that's what it is. If you do a search for Esther Roy, ROI, she is the inventor of the Icarus board, and her drawings are amazing. Amazing. They're absolutely amazing. I can't believe you doodle on the edge of this drawing. Oh, sorry, Deborah. Well, it's kind of a work in progress, isn't it? You know, so it's good to show people. I don't doodle on the side of my. I promise you, I don't doodle on the side of my commission drawings ever. So you know, this is because it's a kind of a practice one. Do you choose colours from your collection and match with photos to choose as well? Do you choose colours from your collection and match with photos to choose as well? I don't know what that means, K Best. I'm not sure what that means. I'm so glad have I made it an actual live. Yes, you have. Mess included. No, you're not going to see it. It's awful, and I need to sweep the floor because the dogs. Oh, honestly, it's actually not that bad on the floor, but it's very messy. Oh God, no, Lisa, no. I can't imagine packing a studio after 22 years. No, I can't possibly imagine that. So I think Arabic subtitles, I think you can choose to have Arabic subtitles probably on the playback. I think you can choose your subtitles where you come from. So I'd definitely have a look at that. Right, so I'm using, this is the dark sepia that I'm using here. And I'm just sort of, this dark sepia is one of the best pencils, honestly. It's fab. I'm going to actually stop in a second. I think we've done pretty well here. We've kind of seen where the hair has kind of gone. We've got lights and darks in there. Obviously we need to spend an awful lot more time, probably another hour or so on this nose to kind of get it all in there and all of the hair and everything in there. But I thought I might just show you the start of the stuck on colours for a golden retriever. Oh yeah. Well, Katie, if you want to email me, bonnie.snowden@gmail.com, and send me the photograph, I can help you with that. You know, I can give you some colour suggestions. Right, let me just bring this. So I'll show you this one first. We'll get rid of Mr. Doggo. Right, so this was the one that I started. This is the smooth paper. This is the Hanamola paper, and this is the one that I just started for my next tutorial. and this is when I started, and then I was like, nope, don't like this, I'm going to start again. Then I started again, and I've actually finished it now. Yeah, so a lot of people ask me how I created this, the noseband, and actually it's, I want to say it's dead easy, and it is dead easy, but let me just see if I can find, that's the right one, and then the sky blue as well. It's not sky blue. That's sky blue. So to create this this effect, all it is that. So this is the sky blue. So it's like a flat pencil, and you find your sweet spot, and it's just that. That's all it is. Oops. Hang on. Have I don't know whether I've lost you all. Am I there? Oh no, hold on. Right, okay, yeah. So live chat there. Yeah, so this that's all I'm doing for this texture is just that. And then I'll bring in sort of like a darker colour and kind of work up the colour like that. And that's all I did for yeah, sorry Vicky, it was me. This is all I did for this piece, kind of went all over it. And then if I wanted any of the sort of lighter colours, I can just sort of, you know, I just kind of came in with the putty eraser and just lifted little bits out. So that's kind of how I did that. But this was really enjoyable, and it was a little bit difficult, challenging for me because it's a smooth paper. You know, you can see here how I've started to layer. So I start with a layer of luminance on the bottom, and then I build up the colour on the top. So this one's finished now, and is that's, I'm going to be editing the video, and that's going to be a you know, a tutorial on Patreon. So that's that one, and then I'm working on this little chap here. So this is Parker, and this is the one that is basically all grey. It's just grey. It's just a grey dog. It's just grey. And it's just like, yeah, what do you do? What do you do with a grey job? With a grey dog? You know, you just have to use greys. So I've used tons and tons and tons of different greys in here. I've got warm greys, I've got cold greys, I've got just all sorts of greys. And then what I've done is I've taken things like a yellow ochre, a light yellow ochre, and I've put some yellow ochre in here, and I've put yellow ochre into sort of areas like this, so just very, very gently glazed that colour in over the grey, just to give it a lift, just to give it a little bit of something, because it's just grey, you know. And actually, yeah, I'm really enjoying drawing him. Actually, I'm really enjoying drawing him, but he is very, very grey. So yeah, so we're just doing greys. I haven't drawn an Acrylic actually, because they're how shiny they are, and they're almost metallic, aren't they? So no, I haven't. Yeah, that would be lovely to do. Is your daughter or son? No, Cheryl, they're not interested in drawing at all. They all love music, and my youngest son loves football. So, and thanks, Deborah, that's really kind, thank you. Yeah, so this is Parker, who I'm drawing at the minute. I'm just kind of working on this bit here. I'll be doing a little bit more of him tonight, and he's a whole body. So I'll just bring him out a little bit so you can sort of see a bit better. Oops. Just see if I can focus him in a bit better. Okay. Yeah, so this is Parker. And he actually, somebody messaged me and said they've got this little dog, would I like to draw him? And obviously my commissions aren't open and everything, but then I saw his photo and I just thought, oh, do you know, that would make a fantastic tutorial. So I just said, well, you know, if I can use him as a tutorial, you can have the original. So that's what I'm doing. So they get the original and I can use his photo as a tutorial, which is great. So yeah, so all my lovely patrons will be getting Parker in July. So get your grey pencils ready, everybody. That's all you need, is just one grey pencil. That's it. And a bit of pink. That's it. Finished. So thanks, everybody. Thank you. That's really kind of you. So yeah. So I think probably that's me done for today. I hope you have. I hope you've enjoyed today's session. I'll just move it back onto the lovely. Oh, you can see the Spaniel a little bit better there. I think that nose looks all right, actually. It looks okay. Thank you, everybody, for your lovely words. Thank you for joining me. And yeah, I'll see you next week, but it's going to be Friday instead of Thursday, just because it's my birthday, and yeah, apparently I'm not allowed to do a live stream on my birthday, which is sad. But yeah, so have a lovely, lovely week, everybody. Thank you so much for joining me, and I'll see you next week. And anybody who wants to know anything, you know, or they've got a question or anything, you're very welcome to to send me an email. So yeah, I'll see you all next week. Thanks so much. See you later. Bye.